Yo ho ho ho, an indie life for me. Yes, indeed. Oh, hello. You must be here to visit Joe's bar. Well, we're very grateful that you are. Thank you so much for coming to the grand opening. We're ready for you, and I hope you're ready for us. So here we go. Time to open Joe's bar. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Joe's Bar. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're really glad that you're here, and I hope that you're ready to have some fun tonight because we certainly are. I've got a great group of people who will be joining me, and we'll introduce them here right now, right here, and sitting at the bar. And then I hope all of you out there in the chat will be ready to rock and roll and we've got our contest going on right now, so please do vote while you're sitting there waiting for us. But here along with us is my distinguished VIPs for the evening, and I am super glad to have each and every one of them joining us here. I gotta start with Mr. Tann, just to get that bottle out of his mouth. All right, Bryan. Introduce yourself.
How's it going, everybody? I am Bryan Tann, Burning Willow Press author, the author of such novels as the Darklands Saga, the Path of Redemption series, the Permutation Archives Division, the John Baker Chronicles Books 1 and 2, Invincible Heart, and Unbreakable Mind, and crime, erotic thriller, Ed and Livy, all under the Burning Willow Press banner. And happy to be here. Cheers to you all.
Nice.
Welcome to the bar.
All right. Let's hear from our good old friend, Isa.
Hi, I'm Isa McClaren. I'm a lighthearted crime fiction author. My first book, A Kiss for Luck, comes out in May. And I seriously love a good cocktail. So that's why I had to show up for Joe's Bar.
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll serve up some good ones tonight. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, on his timely entrance, Mr. Shane Wilson.
Hey, Joe. I'm here, and I've got the wrong camera on, so we're going to try to fix that in just a second. But regardless, Shane Wilson is in the building. Gotta be a little honest. I had a little pregame tonight before we showed up to Joe's Bar. Because if I've learned anything from borderline alcoholic, it's that it's much cheaper to show up already a little drunk.
All right. Katie?
Hello, everybody. And this is Katie SALIDAS. You guys have seen me around a few times, also on Spilling Ink. And last night at Drinks with Authors, I'm still recovering a little bit from that. Paranormal and urban fantasy author with 5-book series under my belt right now. The Immortalis series, Old Town Pack, Little Werewolf, Chronicles of the Uprising, and the new Agents of Asset series. Hey, I even got them right all in the same time.
Hey, nice. All right, and last but certainly not least, Anita.
Hi, I'm Anita Stewart, also known as AF Stewart. I write horror, I write fantasy. I'm just finishing up the last book in my trilogy, The Saga of the Outer Islands, and I'm trying out my new title tonight, Queen of Bones and Stars.
Awesome. Oh, Mr. Wilson disappeared again. All right. Well, I wanted to commemorate our opening here with a little poem that I really wanted to do before I even introed everybody, but I screwed that up. So as live feeds go, I'm usually the calamity in this exercise. So I'll just keep on living up to that title. And here we go. So I wanted to read this to kind of commemorate, because you always want to bless your bar the first time that you open it. So here we go with a little something that was given to me by a friend of mine. Well, actually, he published it, and it's one of my favorite poems from his book. This is a poem called "The Door" by J.D. Estrada, and his book Black Tie Affair. And it's just a door. No need to fear it. Some wood, hinges and screws, a knob or a handle in this case. And you think it has teeth, possibly a bad temper or two, but no, just a door. Something tangible, a thing you can see, but fear is always stronger when you can't see what frightens. Hardwood could knock into you, but the pain would pass. It's the news inside that tortures. The door is but a veil for whatever dagger awaits. Until you crack the shell, you can't see the seed. Maybe it's perfect. Maybe it's burnt. Maybe it's rotten. But the door opens. The doctor calls my name. Let's take a look at that seed. Welcome to our seed, everybody. So, woo, thanks, Shane. Appreciate the fanfare. So, welcome to Joe's Bar, everybody.
Yay!
This particular episode is sponsored by, well, not sponsored by because they didn't sponsor me, but I'll give them a shout out. So every show I'll feature a indie cocktail that you all can go check out. And this is by the Absolution Brewing Company. And the reason why I chose this particular one, why it's sung to me tonight, is because the brewing company is in Torrance, California. That is where I grew up, where I lived most of my youth, and where I drank a lot of beer. So tonight's beer is Cardinal Sin. It's a red ale. It's kind of it's got a nice little tinge. It's got a nice little tinge to it. It's kind of hoppy, but it's really smooth in that respect. It's kind of like if you not watered down Guinness, but if you smoothed out Guinness a little bit, you would get something to this effect. Killian's Red is another one that you would kind of associate it with. Maybe the darker, I don't know, like a darker. It's a darker beer, but it's very refreshing. It doesn't have an aftertaste. It stings you right up front, which I appreciate about beers. They do service several other types of beer. They have IPAs, they have porters and stouts. So go check them out. The link is in the description box, as is all the links to everybody who you are looking at right now. Everybody you're looking at right now, everybody's links are there. So go check them out and follow them. And welcome everybody to Joe's Bar. I'm so glad that everybody's here. We have some specials tonight, and if anybody would like to call out a special in particular, I'll go over them real quickly for the audience, and then we can talk about each special has an association to writing or to our craft, and we'll have a discussion based upon whatever special we choose. So the specials tonight are Vanilla Villain Shots, Sex on the Page, Red Devil Waiting, The Yellow Brick Road, Mutter Futter, and Casting Vodka Shadows. So whoever would like to make a request of the bartender, I will happily describe whatever special you would like to try. Anybody here want to make a request?
I like Sex on the Page, which sounds way better than Sex on the Beach. Believe me, that is.
Sex anywhere is awesome.
Not
Well,
on the beach. Sand gets places.
So sex,
I mean, either one of them could cause severe injuries. I mean, paper cuts don't sound great.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want
think of the paper cuts.
I don't want a paper cut on my butt cheeks. That would suck.
As he sits there and drinks that bottle, I cannot stop looking at the bottle.
Paper cuts on my butt cheeks. Story.
That would be an awesome title for my autobiography.
no paper cuts on the butt. So sex on the page is how much is enough? Can you be graphic and still stay out of an erotica distinction in your writing? And how do you all feel about writing these certain scenes? Is there an uncomfortableness? Is there something that you really you try to avoid? Let's talk about sex on the page.
Well, I try to avoid it altogether. I don't write romance into my books. Very, 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 not very often.
Is it
I mean,
real- so
I do have a couple of stories, and Gothic Cavalcade has a sex scene in it, but for the most part, no, you're not going to find sex in my books.
Fair enough. I wrote under a pen name, and I still hold that pen name, to separate out my erotica and more heavily romantic stories from my urban and paranormal fantasies, because I wanted to make sure that there was that line of delineation between the two so people didn't get confused. And not that I'm uncomfortable writing them, but a lot of people are very inquisitive when they look at a book cover and they ask. Like today, I was at the library doing a local author event, and people would pick up the book and they go, "Is there any sex in this?" I'm like, well, okay, these no. And thankfully I didn't bring any of my Rosalind Sparks books, because those were yes. And that kind of, you could see it in their faces, where if you said it didn't have sex in it, some of them were intrigued and they were more willing to look at the book. Whereas if you said there was sex in it, they're like, oh, I don't really read that. And it may be like a closet thing, like in public, they say they don't read it. We all know erotica and romance, they're very heavily read genres. But I noticed that particularly today when I was asked what books of mine had sex in them. And under my regular name, Katie SALIDAS, I don't really write a lot of heavy romance. So I was easily able to say, no, these don't have it in there. And people were, oh, okay, and more willing to look.
Nice.
I've had one of my novels not have any sex at all. And, well, Ed and Libby is technically a crime thriller erotica. I sort of call it my own personal Basic Instinct. So, but I mean, my Bryce Creed books, there's a sex scene because the lead character has a lover. I mean, I have one per book just because I look at it kind of like a movie, you know, and I'm not going to not have my characters show affection for each other. So, I mean, I feel like you can't get enough as far as, you know, if that's what part of your writing style is into. I mean, everyone has a niche market. So me personally, I'm also too lazy to write under a pen name. So I'll put a little bit of sex in my books for those that like it. And if they don't like it, it's not in there for that long.
Fair enough.
Well, my first book, there's a romantic element to it, but it's definitely not a romance. It's definitely crime fiction. But there are sex scenes in it without there being sex scenes. It's sort of fade to black because the actual acts themselves were not important to the story. So we kind of go off the page and then cut back to Captain Kirk putting on his boots, you know, so you know the thing has happened, but without it actually happening. But in book 2, that's going to be trickier because if that one has a very strong romantic element to it, but the main character has never had sex with anyone, and my con artist is going to have to walk him through this process and teach him. But I don't want to put too much of graphic sex on the page. I just kind of, you know, want to leave it to my reader's imagination.
And that's a good point too, is what are you writing? What is the aim of the book you're writing? If you're writing a book that is focusing on the sex, well, then you're writing for the erotica genre and that's expected. If you're writing a romance where the romance plays a heavy part in that particular book or series, then it's kind of expected that you're going to see that relationship build towards probably sex or something like it. And you may not have to go in complete depth, but you can choose to, and it's still accepted because that's what you've set the intention of that book to be. Whereas if it's a murder mystery or let's say an urban fantasy where the romance or the relationship is not a main focal point of the story, then the sex can feel a little bit like it was just thrown on there to make the book a little more exciting or just to entice certain people to read that maybe it wasn't for them in the first place.
Awesome. Shane, do you want to add?
Yeah, so I write sex into my books, and the reason that I write sex into my books is because I write about people, and people have sex, and sometimes it's good, man, but then sometimes it's like kind of shitty, and that's the thing, right? And I think that's if you're gonna write sex and you're not writing erotica or romance, then you have to approach it from a realistic perspective, right? Sometimes there are false starts, and sometimes sometimes there's excessive holding or whatever. So yeah, I do write sex into my books, and I try to approach it as realistically as possible. There's this book that I read a while ago called How to Read Literature Like a Professor, and maybe some of you have heard of that or read that. And there are 2 chapters in the middle of that book. The first chapter says it's always about sex. And then the second chapter after that says, unless it's about sex. So the theory there is that everything that we write about is under the surface of it about sex, right? Like if you're writing about pirates pillaging a village, then there's probably like some sexual undertones there. But I'm more interested in the second part of that, right? Whenever we write sex into a book, we're really exploring something else, and it's usually a power dynamic, or you're getting something about those characters that there's just really no other way to get to outside of the bedroom, right? So I think that there's something really interesting about stripping away all the pretenses and putting people in their most vulnerable state and exploring what those characters do in that situation. And that's how I approach sex and writing.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I do like the idea of treating it like sex would happen in normal life. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you do have, the one night stands. Sometimes you do have really bad sex that can, break a potential relationship up, or something that causes regret. And that can be a point of your character's growth arc at some point too. So yeah, it's not a taboo to have sex, but it does have to be treated with respect, I think.
Absolutely. And I even take what Sandra Hurst said in the chat there. If it's part of the authentic world and it's integral to the story, great. Then it's got its place. But if you're just throwing it in for the sake of throwing it in, I mean, it's even just like swearing. You use it because it works. But if you just throw it in just to throw it in, well then, you're cheapening it. Each time that I have sex in any book, it's because I felt like between the characters, it was necessary.
Yeah. The only trouble is my characters usually kill each other before they get to the sex. So
That's hot. That is hot. Oh, wow. That is the hottest bikini ever. And now you will get the kiss of death.
yeah, basically.
I shall kill you with my sword.
That is one way to avoid the walk of shame the next morning. Just saying.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I mean,
It works for me.
yeah, I mean, I write about serial killers and deranged people. So yeah, they just kill each other.
Hey, what are we going to do before we have sex? We're going to go swimming in the acid pool.
Murder.
Well, I wrote a Valentine's story where the guy kills his date and cuts her heart out.
That's sexy.
Well, he thought it was. He put her heart in a little jar and kept it forever.
If he didn't say the line, eat your heart out at some point in that scene, I'm a little sad about it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be a little sad. I didn't go that way.
Yeah.
Wow. You just
That's
broke my
okay.
heart.
That's
my balls.
okay.
My mind went
It's probably
the opposite. I went back to Robin Hood, and he's going to cut your heart out with a spoon because it'll hurt more.
It's dull, you twit. It'll hurt more.
Shall we?
Well,
Is
if it
everybody
makes you feel better, she was alive when he spread her ribs apart.
That's hard.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. it does
I'm gonna
actually.
be
I do
having
feel a lot better.
I'm gonna be having sex after the show.
Nice.
I'm sorry, are you drinking out of, I know I missed the pre-show, but like you're drinking out of a baby bottle, right?
Mhm.
yes,
Is that part of it? Like you're like, I'm having sex after the show. Are you just like in the is this part of your whole thing?
No, I was dared to do it.
Oh, okay.
dared. He was not dared. I just said, hey, you should do this. And that was all I said.
That sounded like a dare to me.
You might have just given Brian and company a new kink.
Mhm.
Hey, Brian, you should give me a lot of money.
I don't have any.
That was worth a shot.
Get in line with Navient.
Brian, maybe next
Shall we,
time if you
shall we tackle a new special, everybody? Everybody ready to do another drink?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you thought that was a safe topic, didn't you?
No.
Not with this guy here.
Nope.
No way.
No, I purposely picked these topics for a reason. So
So I can make you question if you ever want to do your show again.
well, that's yeah, whatever.
When we get banned from YouTube, it will be your fault, Brian.
All right,
Well,
so
I was already
all
kicked
right,
out of
so we have
council.
we have vanilla villain shots, we have red devil waiting, we have yellow brick road, we have mutter futter, and casting vodka shadows. So whoever wants to request the next one, please do.
So you got to go mutter butter.
Mutter futter.
All right. So mutter futter, for those of you just joining us, is cursing, vulgarity, senseless violence. Where is the line? Is there a line?
First of all,
And
there's no such thing as senseless violence.
all right, violence. Where is the line? Where do you
I
all
don't have one.
What is a line?
I'm sorry, I don't have one when it comes to violence. Unless it's cats. I do draw the line at killing off the cats.
No hurting the pussy. Got it.
No. I have killed off puppies. Squirrels. Children.
Squirrels deserve
Women. Men. Demons. And a whole bunch of other things. I can't remember at the moment. But yeah. And in various horrible ways. Oh, I actually once wrote a scene where a creature ate someone alive. That was fun.
Well, that's Tuesday. So, but you haven't killed a cat.
No, I don't think so. I don't remember killing a cat anyway.
I did. I actually did. I actually killed a cat person in one of my books.
Yeah, but that's a cat person. That doesn't count. It has to be a cat.
They were in cat form.
Yeah, but there's still a cat person. That's a shifter.
Okay.
That's
Well,
an
then-
entirely different thing. Have I killed off shifters? I don't know. I've had werewolves. I'm not sure if I actually killed one off yet, though. I'm sure I will eventually.
You've just given her next book idea.
Honestly, if it works for the story, do it. Period. If it works for what you're writing and it works for the story and it works in the context of the story, then you know what? Fuck the line. Do it. If it works for what you're doing, if you look at yourself and say, this might be becoming gratuitous, then you tone it down for something else. But if you feel like it works for your story and that's your fan base, then by all means do it. If we had too many lines from sex and violence and swearing, we wouldn't have some of the great, horrible films of the 90s that were like the karate movies. Come on now. And I got to fill my bottle. Baby needs a supper.
Well, my con artist, because of the nature of his work, right, he's trying to deal with fancy, rich people. So he doesn't swear. And when he does, the swearing itself is used, to show off that this is a big deviation from what he usually does. The action series is different because those are like soldier types and they swear all the time. But I don't personally have a line for it. I kind of like to know what I'm getting into as a reader. And I can usually tell from flipping through real quick whether or not there's going to be a lot of that in there.
Is that something that bothers you? You don't want to read that?
Language I never have a problem with. I just kind of like to know if it's going to be a hard-hitting, gritty kind of book or not. It's more of the dark and gritty that I like to avoid. But as long as the violence serves a purpose, I'm okay with that. There are some specific types of violence that I will avoid both in my writing and in my reading.
When it comes to language, I used to have the just throw it in where it is and let it be. But I think after having beta readers look at things and give their feedback, I've kind of learned to pull back a little on the language, because after a while it does become just gratuitous and it loses its flair. So when that character drops an F-bomb, you no longer have that moment, it really means something. So I like to pepper in the language where it's going to actually get a reaction rather than just let somebody curse like a sailor the whole time.
Yeah. Strangely enough, my sailors don't actually curse all that much, though.
No.
No.
Are they true seamen?
Well, yeah. It's
Yeah,
just they're fantasy seamen, so I have to be careful about what they can say, because they're not going to say things like we normally say, like God and Jesus and stuff like that. So it just sort of naturally toned itself down.
Well, it's just like I said, if it has a place and it fits and it works, and your fan base doesn't see an issue with it, do it, man.
You want to get the right reaction. I think that's the point. If you overdo something, you lose that dramatic appeal, just as much as if, it's so unexpected that it throws your readers for a complete loop. It can have the wrong reaction. So see what your readers react to. Get those beta readers involved looking at scenes, and whatever they tend to draw to, you're on the right track. Or if they, give you feedback that says this is just too much, then you kind of know maybe you should pull back a little.
Yeah.
Depends on the character too, because if you've got a serial killer or you've got a military person, they're naturally going to swear more than, say, a nice Regency lady who's poisoning someone's tea.
I disagree about the serial killer, because
it depends on what type.
They can't go around exposing who they are. So they might be more polite than usual. I had a lot of fun trying to figure out what someone who doesn't swear much would say when they were, surprised or startled or things went really bad. So that was fun trying to come up with curse words that aren't really curse words.
Like the Ned Flanders effect.
Oh, siddly diddly. Nipply nooply.
Jane, you're awfully quiet on this topic.
I'm sorry.
You're awfully quiet on this topic, surprisingly.
I don't write a ton of violence. I write some violence, but I think that questions about where lines are supposed to be drawn it's all pretty. I don't know. I think it just shifts. Like, that's a moving target, right? Because as a couple of other people have said, depending on the world that you've built and depending on the people that you've created, then like some things are acceptable and some things aren't. Like, I don't know that we can spend a ton of time worrying about how the reader is going to respond to this particular language or this particular scene, because that way lies only madness, right? When you start worrying about, like, oh, is the reader going to get freaked out that I had this dude dig this other guy's heart out with a spoon, then you start to water your stuff down for, I don't know, 2 or 3 reasons. One, because you don't want to no real good reason, right? Because like write that character the way that character is unapologetically, because I think that genuine art will find its audience, and art that is made with the intention of chasing a dollar is going to come off as, I don't know, bullshit, I guess. Like Bryan drinking out of that bottle, right? Like Bryan's drinking out of the bottle and he's killing it over there, but he's also like kind of chasing the dollar with it, you know, like he's kind of like playing it up a little bit and all of that. And it's all like good and it's good entertainment. But, but you know, I don't know. It comes across as disingenuous, and on
At some point,
level,
we
right?
stopped looking at Bryan with the bottle because we're used to it.
Yeah, now it's
right,
fun.
exactly. Yeah, right,
But
exactly.
But it's
and
not
so
disingenuous. I'm generally having a good time with it at this point.
you are genuinely having a good time.
Exactly.
I like that. And honestly, you're killing it over there. You're sucking it. Honestly, I feel like you're getting drunker because of the baby bottle, because you want to have the baby bottle on the screen more often, which means that you have to drink more, which I think is a brilliant idea. Was whose idea was that?
Mine.
Good job out of you.
Yeah, she just loves watching me get drunk, I guess.
But on another note, like the cursing thing, like some people just curse a lot, and I think that that's okay. And I think that if you want to throw a bunch of curse words at the page, that's okay if that character is that kind of person. And like these questions of like, where is the line? It just like, I don't know, that's a conversation that you just kind of like end up going in circles. Like this rant has gone in circles because it's different for every writer and it's different for every character. And based on the world that you've built and the characters that you've created, I think that you just kind of have to figure that out for yourself. I will say, Joe.
Well, let me ask you this, Shane. Do you have a personal line?
If I do, I haven't found it yet. Like I haven't found the line where I feel like I have to like take a step back. But because I write magical realism with like a really like with a hard R on the realism, you know, like any violence is very real world violence and has a precedent. And because I'm like so invested in telling a story that feels like it could happen, even though it's fantasy, you know, like I haven't found that line if it exists. Now, Joe, let me ask you a question.
Sure. Can
at some point tonight we play a little bit of the Brady Bunch theme song and look at each other in these
if I had it available to me, sure. Are we just gonna sing it together? Is that what we're gonna do?
Oh no, bad karaoke. No.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear me sing.
I don't know. Can we get three more people in the mix? Like,
I think Joe picked these questions perfectly, though, because there's always that intellectual that comes out of you when you start drinking.
Oh my God, Joe's not wearing any underwear.
We all get to have our own
Joe
say.
up,
It doesn't matter.
hashtag Joe up skirt.
Oh no!
All right, people, I need your help. I've got this lovely black cherry Cosmo here. I want to put some bitters in it, but I want you to help me decide which ones to do. Do you guys know what bitters are for? Bitters act like salt for your food. It wakes up your taste buds. So I've got two choices here. This one is hibiscus lavender oak. That's a nice one. And this one is orange and fig. For the last one, I tried the rosemary grapefruit peppercorn. That was nice. I had a little bit of a bite to it.
Orange and fig.
Orange
The
and
hibiscus
fig.
lavender.
I would go with peppercorn, but I'm a bite guy. I like to bite.
Yeah, that's what I had with the last one, so I wanted to mix it up. All right, we're going to go with the orange and fig. Some recipes will tell you to mix the bitters in with the cocktail, but I just took a class about bitters about a week and a half ago, and the best thing to do is just to kind of float them across the top so that your taste buds get a little bit of that on the first bite.
Ooh. I'm
Joe,
learning.
can I talk about this company?
Mm-hmm.
This is a small company. It's called Crude Bitters. It's based in North Carolina, in Raleigh, North Carolina. They make all their bitters on site and then ship them out all over the world and internationally. They're the only bitters maker in North Carolina, and they're really awesome.
That's awesome.
So it's crude, like, the language, crude, crude bitters.
I'll get the link posted in the description for everybody.
Okay, taste test.
Moment of truth, everybody. It looks fantastic.
Nice. The orange blends nicely with the cherry, and then the fig sort of mellows things out.
Nice.
Very cool.
Now I'm hungry again.
All right. So before we go to another special, I thought we'd do something very special tonight. We have a very special announcement, a very special reveal tonight. And do you want to talk a little bit about it, Brian, before I share it, or do you just want me to share it?
Oh no, I mean, I'll talk about it a little bit. So this here, I was going to do this exclusive. I was going to do a cover reveal on my social media platforms, but then I figured since I was going to be on the show tonight anyway, I would make this a Go Indie Now exclusive cover reveal. My novel, Invincible Heart, I've recently switched publishers. Invincible Heart is getting a complete and utter overhaul. That means re-edits, a brand new cover, as well as an audiobook, which is all going to be dropping in June of this year with Burning Willow Press. The audiobook will be narrated by yours truly. And I'm really, really excited, but I'm especially excited for this cover reveal done by the amazingly talented Shannon Perrine on the Burning Willow Press staff. She does the artwork as well, and it's absolutely amazing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. It was like the bells in the cathedral went off. It was awesome. So I feel like I've talked it up enough.
Shall we have a drum roll?
Yes, let's. Wow, it's weird doing a drum roll with no facial hair. Boom!
Here you go, everybody.
That is the official cover for the re-release of Invincible Heart, the John Baker Chronicles Book 1.
Gorgeous.
And
the colors are striking in this thing here, but the incredible thing that I want to point out to everybody, I don't know if everybody can see my little cursor, but the muscles definition of the muscles, especially in the forearm, are exquisite. That is just amazing.
Yeah, Shannon did an amazing job on this. I just told her, I said, you know what? Take and do what you will, because anything that I tell you that I see, it's just do what you will with it. And then she came out with this, and I was floored. I remember I was sitting in my office and I saw it, and I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it's
President Emerson King has been publicly and privately embarrassed by the escape and open rebellion of the terrorist Mila Hunter. To combat the growing resistance of the fallen paradigm, he has enacted the Invincible Heart Project in the form of soldier John Baker with one simple mission: to capture or kill Hunter at all costs. Unfortunately for the president, John's heart has other plans.
Absolutely. And there you've got lead character John Baker right there at the forefront. It's just, I cannot wait. I really feel like this is an absolute rebirth of this book. And I'm very, very excited for it to come out in June. I'll be recording the audio of it over the next few months to make sure that it's perfect. And hopefully everything will be dropping all on the same day.
Nice.
So,
all right. Well, we are counting. Thank you for letting us share that. I'm very humbled and honored by that. Thank you so much, my friend, for that.
Honor is all on this side of the table, my man.
And we are headed into the last bit of voting. So if you haven't voted yet, put your vote in the chat. This is the first matchup, Pulp Fiction versus A Spotless Mind. The second matchup is Clerks versus Dazed and Confused.
Oh, man.
That's painful.
That
one's
is
really
such,
painful.
That is difficult. That's worse than having to choose between Evil Dead and Night of the Living Dead.
And speaking of the Evil Dead, that is the third matchup versus Donnie Darko. Give you all a chance to absorb that for a second. And then finally, Memento versus Reservoir Dogs. So if you haven't put your vote in, put it in now because they're going to count in just a few minutes. They won't count anymore. So shall we pick another special, or is there something that everybody just wants to kind of talk about? So, it's happy hour, so let's be happy.
A whole lot of loving is what we'll be bringing.
I was reading, Brian, something very interesting about Shazam that I found fascinating that I didn't know before. When you were talking about how you just saw it today, for everybody who didn't know, Brian got a little sneak preview of the movie. It doesn't actually officially open until April 5th, but Brian was able to see it today, and he'll give you his staunch non-spoiler review here in a moment. But what I found interesting is that the production company that initially pitched the idea was an independent production company.
I'm not surprised.
And so I'm kind of curious if there was kind of a little bit of that indie flair to it.
No, this was big budget all the way. There wasn't a lot of I didn't get any sort of indie feel on it, to be honest. And I didn't go in expecting it, so I wasn't disappointed in that. But it was a good story. Once again, non-spoiler. So if you're looking for spoilers, you're not getting them. Sorry, but I can't stand people that go on the internet and spoil things. I think that's like the biggest douchebag move ever. So I won't do it. I will say that I have no intention of giving away anything for those that see it. If you feel as though I've given a little bit more away than you would have liked, I do apologize, but it is not intentional. One thing I will say to address the elephant in the room, Zachary Levi, amazing. Everything that you saw of him in the trailers, you get in the film and then some. He does such an amazing job. The man-child, when he's the man-child of Shazam, he does so great. The acting overall is really well done. Nothing felt overly forced. Everyone did the best that they could with the material that they did, that they got, and I'm pretty happy about it. I have to say, and I'm actually, unfortunately, I do have to go to my phone to get a little bit of help with some certain people's names, so I do apologize for that. But let's say that if you're going to give Zachary Levi a lot of love for his role, then you actually have to give some love to Asher Angel, who actually plays Billy Batson. I'm not very familiar with the young man, so he probably did something else. I don't know, but he brings a lot of heart to the character as well. When he's face to face with the wizard Shazam, it's like it's really good. What you see him do in the trailers, it really does well on film. You're really gonna enjoy it. One of the things that I liked was the growth of the character, the growth of Billy overall. And I think that if you're really big on character arc and character growth in movies, then you are going to kind of enjoy this. With that said, though, there are certain points. Be prepared for the story to drag a little. It does, unfortunately. As I told our our awesome hosts and our distinguished panel tonight. This isn't the Avengers, and what I mean by that is, and I have to give credit to John Campea, host of the John Campea Show, for this sort of ratings list, because I agree with it 100%. In the upper echelon of comic book movies, you get the Avengers films, you get Civil War, and The Winter Soldier. Those are like your top echelon. Those are your, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan's. And then, you'll get certain movies that are just under that. And Shazam it's kind of like that. It's just under that. It doesn't keep you, it's not going to keep you 100% all the time. There's going to be points where you're like, all right, get to the next, wind it up, please. But with that said, when you're starting to wish for it to wind it up and get to the good stuff, it gets to the good stuff and it hits you really, really hard. And I will throw this in, a nice welcome back to the DC universe for Mr. John Glover, who played Lionel Luthor in Smallville, the father of Lex. So welcome back to the DC universe, John Glover. You're amazing as always. So on a scale of 1 out of 5, shall we say aholic chips, I would actually, this is going to be middle of the road for me, just for the fact of how it sort of drags a little bit. So I'm looking at a 3 out of 5 on it. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a nice ha-ha until we get to Endgame, and then it's going to be, oh.
Now, I got the feeling from the trailers that this is obviously an origin story. And they played up, in the trailers at least, the angle of learning his powers. So just answer yes or no. Is that where it drug on?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. I had the feeling, because they did tease that in the trailers, a lot of his learning how to use his powers, which can be comedically just wonderful if done right. But it can also be something that you do get a little tired of, I think.
Yeah, DC still has a lot of they still have they've come a long way, but they still have a ways to go in that regard. But a lot of heart. If you want to laugh and you want to have a good time, it's there. You want to see some cute kid moments, it's there. But also, as we all know, as we were coming up in our teen years, there's going to be difficult times as well. So if you take your kids, be ready to answer the question, of like, why? And you're going to be like, how do I answer that? And I killed Shane. I bored Shane to death. Either that or he had lung cancer. He's the Beetlejuice lung cancer guy.
So so I put it out to the audience, our lounge area, to come up with another special. But before I get to that, and we'll talk about another special, we'll put out another special there. But before I get to that, let me announce the final 4 for everybody you can now vote. So the first matchup to vote for will be Pulp Fiction versus Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, Tarantino off. I love it.
The next matchup to vote for will be Clerks versus The Evil Dead. If you guys want to give us your picks right now, that would be great. I'll take everybody's picks here if they want right now. So just let me know, and we'll move forward from that.
Evil Dead and Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction and Clerks.
Pulp Fiction and Clerks.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, come on, 37. Ooh, someone wants a Yellow Brick Road. Holiday Road.
All right, so for Yellow Brick Road, we did actually have the suggestion for the next special, and we'll do Yellow Brick Road after that. And so the next special that we're going to talk about is Casting Vodka Shadows.
Oh, good. That's the one I was going to pick.
This is the best casting suggestion you got from someone else about your, dream casting your work that you didn't think about beforehand, but now you realize that would really fit your character. And then on the flip side, the worst.
That's a lot harder than I thought it was.
Yeah. Well, I've never gotten any casting suggestions from anybody. No. There you go.
You said something with innuendo.
Everything's innuendo to you, Brian.
Well, I did tell you I was going to get weird the closer it got to midnight here. So,
oh boy, Cinderella's gotten her naughty pumpkin.
Yeah, once the witching hour hits, all bets are off. I tell you.
Oh no.
I don't think
Cinderella's in the naughty pumpkin with
suggestion.
whips and chains.
Yeah. There's definitely other uses for those mites.
James Bond, but that's not really a casting suggestion.
Well, which James Bond?
Well, there's only one.
You gonna say Sean Connery? I hope.
Yeah.
All right.
Duh.
So what if it? You know what? Sean Connery is about the most suave mofo to ever be. He was so suave and debonair, and I'm not even a James Bond fan, but he was just suave as hell. It's like if he came up to me and was like, "I'm James Bond," I'd be like, "Yes, you are."
He's the Untouchables is always the thing I should turn to on Sean Connery, but
he was great in that.
Has nobody ever gotten a casting suggestion in their lifetime?
I did. I actually, my character Skull, who's a supporting character in my Bryce Creed series, someone actually suggested Corey Feldman for him, and I thought about it, and I was like, I could actually see Corey Feldman as this character. So Corey Feldman was kind of a shocking one for me, and I actually enjoyed that.
Interesting.
I have my own casting ideas, but
please.
Well,
let's share those, everybody.
For my captain, if any of you guys have watched Poldark, I think Aidan Turner's the actor.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, he'd make a great Captain Rafe Morrow. Yeah.
But I loved Aiden way back in the Being Human on BBC days. Oh, I
like him better in Poldark than I did Being Human. I never really liked the character. I mean, I
loved Mitchell.
No, I much preferred the vampire that replaced him.
He was good too. He had some charisma, especially when they did that walking through the bar scene. And it was the last season. I want to say it was almost the last episode. And he's just tapping like his cane and people are waking up and he's singing that. What's the song? Putting on the Ritz.
Yeah. Oh, I love this stuff when he's OCD.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is so funny
because he has to control himself so much. And
I mean, and when the scenes with him and the werewolf character, when he's OCD and the other guy's trying to break him from being that way. Oh, that was so funny.
That was a brilliant TV show, and I loved the premise: a vampire, a werewolf, and a ghost move into an apartment. I mean, it sounds like a bad joke, but it worked so well.
It really does.
But not
even the American version.
No, I hated the American version.
No, really?
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't as good as the English version, but I thought they did pretty good.
It didn't have the same dry comedy to it.
No, it didn't.
Gritty realism. It was definitely too Hollywood for me. I liked the fact that they tried to make it look and feel as real as possible.
I like The Office.
Another one that was stolen from the BBC.
Yeah, but The Office is awesome.
All right, so getting back on track.
Sorry.
Anybody
in The Hobbit too?
Anybody have any other casting suggestions for their future production company making their movie?
Well,
I mean, I want John Cusack, but the John Cusack from like the early '90s, not the one now.
Not Hot Tub Time Machine, John Cusack.
Yeah.
When I think of actors, it's from actors like that I knew back in the old days when we had Television's made out of rocks or whatever. I can't think of anybody, like, if I were to cast my book now, there's very few 30-something actors that I know who they are. So the role of Stanzi will have to go uncast right now. But Jules Branch, my con artist, I often cast him as Mark Warren. He was in a TV show called Hustle where he was a con artist, but he was also in one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who. And he's amazing. And I would cast Kate Walsh as Delia. Definitely.
I've got a flair for the British actors. I want to get Mark Gatiss to do some evil role in any of my books. If I could get them turned into a movie, I need him to be a villain. I love the way he carries himself.
I want John Bowerman to be a villain in one of my books.
Like not even cast as a villain in the movie. You just want that guy to be a villain in your book.
Yeah, I just want John Bowerman just to be like, you know what? I'm in your book now, and I'm like, you're John Bowerman. You can tell me whatever the hell you want. You're John frickin' Bowerman.
You do.
And all your books come with like a weird color, like glossy print of John Bowerman, like in the middle. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. It's in any movie they make about my books, it's just like, so we have to put John Bowerman in here. What are we gonna do? I don't know. You can make him be a black guy, then that's fine. He can be the black guy.
The new what is it called? Damn it! The words just escaped the minute I thought of them. It's going to be a new series coming out. I think it's on Amazon, and it's got David Tennant and Michael Sheen.
Oh
Good
yeah!
Omens.
I can't wait.
God, I can't wait for that.
That is going to be so cool.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Together, you had me at that right there.
That is 2 levels of awesome that I'm just like, the world is not prepared for.
It's going to be
Good Omens.
so freaking brilliant.
Is it Good Omens?
Good Omens, yeah.
That's going to be awesome. I can't.
Oh, those two together, just playing off of each other. Oh, that's it. They don't have to do anything really. Just put those two in a room.
Pretty much. I mean, that's just like Bowie and getting Bowie and Freddie Mercury together. You know what? The song doesn't even have to make sense. Just make a song. It's gonna make money.
Beautiful song. What are you talking
It is,
about?
but it doesn't make sense.
it is a beautiful song.
It's an amazing song. It is really well done. But let's be real, it was all done on a Coke binge. It makes no sense, and that's what makes it amazing. I love it.
All right. For real, though, like a Coke binge gets a pretty bad rap. Like it's like Coke binges have given us some pretty good art, man.
Yeah, I'm not saying it like it's a bad thing. I think it's great. If I weren't afraid of
Hollywood today could do with a few more Coke binges.
damn right.
I want to see Avengers Endgame, the Coke binge version.
Yes. This version, Captain America just goes up to Scarlet Witch and just tells her, you know what? You are now my shield. And he grabs her by the ankles and throws her through Thanos' head.
So instead of turning them to dust, he turns them to Coke, and somebody has to come along and.
Shane
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Shane and I were
high.
Shane and I yeah, feel that super.
All right. Speaking of getting high and crazy, that brings us to our next special, which is the Yellow Brick Road. So something that you tried, that you just decided to try and didn't expect it to work, but it did work. It ended up
talking about drugs?
Yeah, are we talking about writing? Yeah.
writing, marketing,
Have we gone
promoting.
back to sex again? Because
I didn't think the sex swing would work out at all. But strangely enough, I did not break any bones.
It's always about sex, except when it's not about sex. And then it's still about sex.
Someone paid attention to the lecture.
Oh my God. I'm going to hell.
teachers.
You know what? You know what I
Hey,
just
you know
thought?
what's really cool though is we could all carpool because like we're like all together, so like we can save the environment on our way to hell.
I'm happy with it. You want to talk about a movie with? You have to be careful though with movies on a Coke binge, because I'm pretty sure the movie Troll 2 and You're Never Too Young to Die with John Stamos.
You're not gonna let the troll movies go, are you?
Last night.
Do not diss John Stamos. I have been kissed by John Stamos. I will not hear anything bad about him.
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying when they made the movie You're Never Too Young to Die, there was a lot of drugs involved when that movie was made. A lot. I mean, come on, Gene Simmons as a.
Who's the one guy you'd sleep with? John Stamos. Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Joe, I can't help but feel like we did not answer your previous question.
No. It just went into a totally different area. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try an unreliable narrator in my next book, and I'm hoping that it works.
Nice. I wrote from a female perspective, and I don't think it works, but I've been told it's actually pretty good. So, or at least it was decent enough to pass. So, I mean, there were certain things I did wrong, but that's to be expected. I am a man after all, but
But I hear that women are people too, so you have something in common with them.
But you do not have a vagina.
But I did try. I wanted to try it, and it is what it's going to be, I guess.
Honestly, I did not think attempting to write a book was going to work. I did not think that I would ever get The Enforcer written. Like, if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be at this point, I would have thought you were lying. So,
Yeah, well, I didn't think I could pull off my short stories as a novella formatting thing, but it worked. So, yeah.
Nice.
Well, I'm working on a couple of things right now, Joe, that have absolutely no business working at all. And so if they come to fruition, I'll see you in a couple of months and we'll talk about it then.
That was very cool.
Tease.
mm-hmm.
That's what they call in the radio business.
Yep, that's what they call a teaser.
That's
How about you, Katie? Did you have anything you?
I'm kind of like Shane. I'm in the works on something right now that if it works, yay. And if it doesn't, well, at least I'll have a story to tell. But that'll happen over the summer.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we might as well finish off the board then. We got one more left, and it's Red Devil Waiting. So when does it become too far into a story to sell or introduce a new character or conflict?
That's a good one.
Are we talking
I
like
think you have to do that.
we're just going to die, or are we talking like important characters?
Yeah, either one. I mean,
I think you have to.
Characters are more interesting, though. But I think, if you're introducing a main character halfway through a book or something, you're in trouble.
I think anything substantial has to be introduced by the second act. Like, you can't do anything in the third for sure. I mean, you should probably do it before you get to the second, but at least by the second.
Yeah, because if you try to wait till the third, now you're doing so much exposition to try to, now you're telling instead of showing, and it's just it's not done.
Have any of you ever written yourself into a circle?
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Because that's what that is.
not written myself into a circle.
I cheated myself. I actually, like the Path of Redemption series right now, I'm starting early work on the third book, and what this story consists of wasn't supposed to happen until the fifth book. So the second book really took me for a loop, because it was like, yeah, everything you thought you were going to do in like another couple of books, you're just doing it all now. And I'm like, but book. And the book's like, nope, I'm in charge here. You just get those fingers together, fat man. And I had no choice but to do it the book's way.
Yeah, I've been there. My stupid villain in the second book changed his motivation. So I had to rethink everything for the third book. So, yeah. I mean, those stupid villains just won't cooperate.
Sons of bitches.
Oh, tell me about it. And I had another character. Who refused to stay in Oxford and insisted on going to London. And that was another. I mean, really, they just don't cooperate.
They really don't. Like when you really, and that's one thing that I've even since I've started like seriously writing, I realize that these damn characters, they seem to think that they're in charge and they make all the rules and they're just going to do whatever they want. And then I tell them, you know what, Mom? I do not have to put on that sailor suit. Oh, sorry.
Or drink from a baby bottle.
But no, the whole point is the characters, man, when they really want their story to go a certain way, you have to do it that way. Otherwise, you're putting crap out there. And your mom has your sailor suit.
When somebody tells me that, oh, you're the writer, you're in charge, just make the characters do it. I'm like,
it's like intangible children that are like circus monkeys on acid. You have to give in.
Let me ask this of Katie, because I believe we've talked about this before, Katie, that you didn't initially set out to write a series, correct? And it just became a series. Am I correct? Is that something that we talked about?
Yeah, I originally just focused on one book, and then the story wasn't over after the first book. The plot of the first book was over, but she had more story to go. So I just kept following the story on that first book series.
So did that entail you to, when you started to make a second book and a third book, did that entail you to create more characters that you didn't expect to create at the beginning? And how did you, and where do you feel like those characters need to be dropped in? Do they need to be dropped in by the second book and moved on into the third book, or can you keep dropping new characters into each series? Because as a series writer, that's a little bit of a different animal, right?
Yeah, if you're going to add characters in that are going to have longevity, they have to be teased early on, I think. And even those characters, especially if they're going to be pivotal characters at some point, you have to really bring their backstory in. You know, even if it's just a mention of them initially, it's got to be brought in really early. One of the series that I wrote, the Chronicles of the Uprising, it's set up in 2 trilogies. So the first trilogy, I didn't introduce a specific character. In the start of the second trilogy, I did introduce a character who I had intended to die. The whole time I wrote that book, this character was going to die by the end of it, and that was supposed to be a pivotal moment for the main character to move on. And I got to the end, and I couldn't kill this character. I'd fallen in love with this character. I love this character so much that I had to rewrite that whole book in order to make it so that character lived. And then that character actually became a secondary character in the following 2 books.
No one can just be Krillin and die.
Nope.
Have you ever? Well, let me ask. Can I ask this? Oh, well, go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that the only like you could throw a Count Dooku at it if you need a villain to die real quick without a lot of backstory or anything. Just throw a Dooku at it or General Grievous.
There you go.
Red shirts are easy to throw in because you don't care if they die, but they're just making body counts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, that's what happens when you have a really good idea with Darth Jar Jar, and then you decide to abandon Darth Jar Jar because of the reception. Yeah. Darth Jar Jar. I'm still waiting on the Disney cut of the prequels. Let's get Darth Jar Jar in the mix.
Hey Shane, how many chips?
There's a rumor that he's going to make an appearance in number 9.
Hey,
yeah, well, you know what he's going to do? He's going to come in number 9, and he's just going to fucking chop everybody up because he is a Sith Lord, man. Darth Jar Jar for the win. FTW. That's what it's going to be called.
Oh, hell yeah. Darth Jar Jar gets the golden chip. He gets the golden chip. He gets the golden chip.
Absolutely, he does. Every time.
Now, if that happens, will you absolve Rian Johnson of all responsibility for 8 then?
Oh, wait, hold on a minute. Hold on, Joe. Are you saying Rian Johnson was bad?
No, I don't personally believe that, but
I think he's awesome.
Can I just say one thing about
they're going with the Dallas ending for 9, by the way. So
it was all a dream. Luke is still on Dagobah training with Yoda.
You're gonna have
Luke's gonna walk out of the shower and he's gonna be all fine. It's all good.
you're gonna have
Look, it's like
McGregor in a tut-tut.
the camera pans down, and then you've just got Kylo Ren just like, huh. Oh, thank God. It was all just a dream. And then and it just eradicates, like J.J. Abrams just came in and just fixed it all for all the fragile boys that got their feelings hurt by the last one.
Let's see. Can I just say that for all those pansy-ass douche canoes that whined about episode 8 and they're, ew, it's a social justice agenda. Here's what you do, Junior. Get out of mommy and daddy's basement. Look at that big, weird yellow thing in the sky. It's called a sun. And then you realize it's not 1955 and that women and people of color, guess what? They actually shape things. And just because you like something, it doesn't give you the right to be an asshole and bully people off of social media. And if you think that is your right, get some strychnine and put it up your nose like it's Coke and then just do the rest of the world a favor.
Sandra actually just said something that I'm terrified of, and that is that they're going to come back, and I know that this is not about Star Wars, but everybody just calm down, because it is a little bit about Star Wars, because everything's a little bit about Star Wars.
Everything is about Star Wars.
Here's the thing. If they come back in episode 9 and they're like, oh, Rey, the DNA test is in and Obi-Wan is your father, or Luke Skywalker is your father, or whoever the fuck, if they make that chick related to any of those people, then I quit Star Wars. Because the beautiful thing about episode 8 is that the Force is available to anyone. Right? Like, we can all be Jedis. Even if you're a little stable boy sweeping out the horse stables. Like, let's go get it. Let's go make some lightsabers. Let's do it, Joe. Let's go.
Hell yes. Thank you. Thank you. There were Jedi before the Skywalkers became a thing, okay? You had Revan, you had Malik, you had freaking Exar Kun. There were Force users before the Skywalkers and all that. You don't need them to run every damn saga. Come on, Luke is awesome, but you don't need that.
I mean, honestly, I think that the J.J. Abrams special means that they're all going to be related to a lens flare, but...
I would prefer that over a James Cameron special, but
right.
Wow. So what if Jake Sully is actually her father, and then she just turns into a cat person? That's what I call mixing series.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if they were like, we just tagged James Cameron. Like, we fired J.J. Abrams 2/3 of the way through filming. We're bringing in James Cameron. And then, like, the third act of Star Wars Episode 9 takes place on, what is that place called in Avatar? It's been so long.
Pandora?
Pandora. Yeah.
Pandora.
All the lightsabers are made out of unobtainium. All the lightsabers are made of unobtainium. And Giovanni Ribisi is like, hey, listen, guys.
Yeah, and we find out that none of the people in Star Wars are actually real people. They're all just avatars.
Yes.
And we've been controlling them all along.
We've gone full meta now.
Yes, we have.
And then it's not only is it Avatar sequel, it's also The Matrix Part 4.
All right.
So, yeah, because we find out that Neo is the Force.
Neo is the Force.
Oh my God. This has totally gone off the rails, and I love it.
Well,
this is the best bar ever.
Let me just say, I'm going to break an exclusive, if that's all right with Shane and Brian.
Oh,
Joe,
is it all right with you guys?
Your show, man.
You didn't ask me.
Well, because it doesn't. Well, it might involve you.
It's your show. Do it.
I wanted the two of them to really get going, because that's what you're about to expect soon enough, because Brian and Shane are about to team up and do something amazing out there in the world, and I'm real excited for that. And so everybody get ready for what you just saw. That's probably going to be an hour and a half of that, which is going to be just the greatest hour and a half you've ever expended in your entire life.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the month-long series on where did Star Wars go wrong.
You know what's great is that Shane and I were just shooting the shit after the Writer Imperfect episode that we both appeared on. We did not meet before that. And we literally became like stepbrothers without all the angst in the first act.
And you know what's really great about the internet, Joe, is that there's so much room for activities.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope I get to be a guest on it at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I've already assumed, Joe, that we would have you on there for our Endgame episode. So what we're talking about here is Bryan and I are starting a podcast called The Plotaholics.
Mm-hmm.
And The Plotaholics is where you go to drink and get your weekly dose of plot or storytelling analysis, if you will. We rate movies on a 1 to 5 shot rating system. If you need 5 shots to get through the movie, then that means it's terrible. But if you only needed 1 shot just to loosen you up, then you probably got yourself a pretty good film. So we're gonna have we're gonna crack one open. We're gonna summarize the film for you, and we're gonna do some analysis, both from just literary analysis, but also like what works, what doesn't work from a storytelling perspective, and then we're gonna give you some ratings.
Character development, character arc, plot development, plot holes, plot points, all of that. And at the end, we're going to give our analysis.
There you go. The Plotaholics coming soon.
You can start right now.
Well, we have been dropping hints. This is what they call in the industry a backdoor pilot.
Everybody, the moment of truth. You have to choose between Pulp Fiction or Clerks.
Clerks.
You just have to do it.
Clerks.
30
I mean, okay. So I feel like for the sake of the podcast, I would have to take the contrarian position, right? But I have watched Clerks more recently and more often. So I think that if I were to be honest, I would probably say Clerks. Also, I've been watching Comic Book Men, that Kevin Smith show where they combine comic books and Pawn Stars. And I've just been binging it over and over and over again lately. So probably Clerks for me. I enjoy the shit out of that movie.
Comic Book Men is definitely a one shot.
Oh, for sure.
So there you have it, everybody. Clerks
is a one shot too, because if you do 5 shots, then you might end up having sex with a dead man in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or watching somebody pull the Pringles bottle off of some moron's fist.
Right.
Or you both went.
And what I love about Clerks is that
we can show by just seeing Berserker if you want.
My lord, you is ticking clock Berserker. Would you like some making fuck Berserker?
Fuck.
Yes.
What I love about Clerks is that it gives birth to this extended universe that Kevin Smith spends the next several films developing, right? Like the Viewsk universe is a lot of fun to be a part of. And what I really love is that Mallrats is a prequel technically and it's the one that's in color.
Yes, it is. It's a prequel. And strangely enough, I came into the Viewsk universe to Mallrats thanks to my crush on Shannon Doherty. So I saw Mallrats before I saw Clerks. So technically I saw them in order.
There you go.
All right. That's awesome. Well, I think this has been a lot of fun to open the bar for tonight. I think we've run through all the spirituals. And I just want to give everybody an opportunity to tell everybody, even though the links are there, you can all check them out, where to find everybody. And I'm going to start with the Queen of Cocktails, Miss Isa McLaren.
Hi, you guys can find me on Twitter at IWMcLaren, and authorisamclaren.com is my blog, and I'm on Facebook under Isa McLaren.
Awesome. And then what was the title that you were given today, Katie?
She who must be obeyed.
And we will.
I think that's quite fitting.
I will do that right now and obey the opportunity for you to tell everybody where they can find.
Well, Katie also forgot my nickname for her.
Uh-oh. No. Can't say that one.
Is that just for us?
Oh, wait, no. You know what? Go ahead.
Madam SALIDAS.
Madam SALIDAS. There's a story behind that, though.
There's a whole story behind it, but we don't have time.
It's a quick one. I'll give it to you quick. So if you see my name, most people use the Spanish version of it, which is SALIDAS, which is not right. It's Greek, so it's SALIDAS. Well, anytime an IVR calls me, any of those robot calls, they can't get it right either. And at one point, I was salad ass, and I just ran with that. And of course, I always say, if I ate more salad, I would have less ass. So maybe I should follow through with that.
So where can we find you, Miss
I am
Salad?
super easy to find. Look me up by name. I live on Facebook. KatieSalidas.com is my website, which has links to every place you can find me online. I can also be found at the Spilling Ink website on YouTube, which is the Spilling Ink Show. Just look me up on YouTube there. Or like I said, Facebook. I live there. Look me up by name.
Nice. All right. Miss A.F. Stewart.
Well, you can find me.
Stars. Sorry, I apologize.
You can find me most often over on Facebook in my group, AF Stewart's Minions, or on Twitter at Scribe77. And I have a website, WordPress site, Welcome to Avalon.
Awesome. And then Mr. Shane Wilson.
Yeah, man. I'm all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at that Shane Wilson, all one word. Also, ShaneWilsonAuthor.com will get you hooked up with all of my many creative endeavors, including the Plotaholics coming soon.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, the one, the only, the Bryan Tann.
You can find me. Go to BryanTann.com. That's how you find me all over social media. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can get to know me better on the About Me page. You can actually go to my blog and read my blog series, Apocalypse. Check out my appearances on different shows there as well. The Bryce Creed music playlist, which is always growing, as well as, Plotaholics when all that stuff is, ready to go up and ready as well. And find me on social media. Just go to BryanTann.com, BryanTann.com, and you'll find me.
All right. So in my travels and my time, I've closed a many bar in my life. And the one thing that I know that happens at the end of every closure is that we hold a toast. So we will always hold a toast on this show.
Joe, I'm empty. I'm empty. Hold on.
Come on.
All right. Yeah.
Closing time.
I don't think we have the rights to sing that song.
Here's my toast for tonight. Special occasions like this remind me of how lucky I am to have you all as friends and colleagues in some way, somehow. Spending this quality time with you has me smiling for the rest of the night, even before I say those magic words. And you know what they are. It's always time to go indie now. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
And with that, we are done. Thank you, everybody. The bar is closed. We will see you again next month. April 20th, everybody. We will be back opening once again our little speakeasy. And thank you all.
New beginning comes from sun.